Listen, you told me if I liked The Stand by Stephen King, then I should read Swan Song by Robert McCammon. And you wasn't bloody wrong. In this video, we're gonna be doing a deep dive into Swan Song. Why did I like it so much? Who were my favorite characters? All that kind of stuff. And then at the end, maybe we'll do a little comparison between Swan Song and The Stand. Oh, before we get started, I just want to thank the people that are appearing somewhere on the screen right now. They were the people that recommended that I read Swan Song, so thanks so much for that. Spoiler alert, I liked it a lot. Swan Song is a post-apocalyptic novel originally published in 1987. And this is in a world where tensions between America and the Soviet Union are at an all-time high, and then, with the push of a button, America, as we know it, is gone. So is Russia. But this story is set in America, so that's what we're going to be focusing on. Society has collapsed, and what is left of humanity has to fight to survive as they traverse through an America that has completely fallen apart. It has now become a nightmarish landscape filled with disease, mutations, and unspeakable human horrors. Now, for people that like post-apocalyptic novels, this probably all sounds very familiar, but what sets Swan Song apart from most post-apocalyptic books is the sense of magical realism. And that is probably why it's compared so frequently to The Stand, amongst some other reasons that we'll get into. I'll say this, that the cast of characters is absolutely superb in this book. First of all, you've got Swan. Swan is a young girl with supernatural abilities. She's kind of the heart of the story, and because of her abilities, it makes her a kind of, not a center of worship, but a beacon of hope in an otherwise barren wasteland. Then you've got Josh Hutchins, aka Black Frankenstein, and he is a former pro wrestler. He's strong, he's resourceful, he's kind of a gentle giant kind of a character, and I would say for me, he is the most lovable character in the whole book. Then you've got Sister Creep, or Sister, if you want to be polite. And she is a New York bag lady, so she's a homeless lady, who is psychologically damaged by her past. But after the apocalypse happens, it's like she gets a second chance at life when she discovers a magical glass ring. And she just gets a chance to reinvent herself. Another character that's trying to reinvent himself is Roland Croninger. And this kid is crazy, man. He's a little psycho. What can I say about Roland? He sees this apocalypse as a kind of game to live out his fantasy as being what he calls a king's knight. And you can imagine what a young sociopathic boy would be up to when people are desperate, and maybe he's able to navigate this world and manipulate people, and he does a lot of really messed up stuff. It was uncomfortable to read anything with Roland in it, but it was also darkly enjoyable. I would say that encapsulates this whole book, darkly enjoyable. Next up, you've got Colonel Macklin, and when I was first introduced to this character, I immediately liked him. I was thinking to myself, listen, if the world falls apart, I'm going to be looking for characters like Colonel Macklin, because he seems really on top of his game. He seems really organized. He's a natural leader. And I think he's going to be so resourceful. He's going to know exactly what to do in this situation, and I'm going to help him to do it. I don't want you to judge me for that because, like I say, this was at the very beginning of the book. Colonel Macklin is, I would say, the nice way to say it is that Colonel Macklin is efficient to a fault. He wants to restore the United States of America to greatness. He's another character which has some psychological damage, PTSD from the war. I believe it was Vietnam that he served in. And he's developed this alter ego called the Shadow Soldier. The Shadow Soldier is like a bully in his head that is constantly telling him, you need to be strong, you need to be a man. And it forces him on through difficult times, but it also forces him to make decisions which are occasionally, quite often, unsavory. And finally, you've got Randall Flagg. The man with the scarlet eye. He is a demonic creature who is kind of omnipresent. He is able to infest people's minds, manipulate them through dreams. And yeah, I mean, this is Randall Flagg. It's the same thing. If you don't know, Randall Flagg is one of the villains from The Stand. They are so similar, and no doubt this is one of the reasons that people compare these two stories. Now, if that main cast of characters doesn't really interest you, then what's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you if you're not interested by that cast of characters. You're wrong. I mean, there are lots of other lunatics in this book that the cast of characters meet along the way. So that's just for starters. I think a common complaint that I see is the book's length. A lot of people feel as though it doesn't need to be as long as it is. I believe this version is about 900 pages, and yeah, just over 900 pages. So this is what I would refer to as a chunky boy. I mean, for me, I didn't mind it, actually. I felt as though the extended length of the story was justified, and it allowed Robert McCammon to kind of interweave these stories in a way that felt natural and not rushed at any point. But at the same time, it never felt as though it was dragging either. I mean, these people were on a long, arduous journey, and I felt that that was accurately represented. If this was in a 90,000 word book, then no way would this journey have felt as though it was earned. Do you know what I mean? The story was consistently ramping up. The stakes were always rising. These protagonists that you're getting to know and love were under increasing threat, and then the villains of the story were becoming more and more unhinged as they start to forget the old world and embrace the new, embrace the chaos. I think one of the things that people might struggle with in this book is how dark it is. It's dark even by post-apocalyptic standards. It paints a picture of human nature and what it could become if the rules of humanity were stripped away. There were moments in this book where I really winced at people's reactions, at how cruel people were, at how self-interested they were, of how apathetic they were. That was the most horrifying thing, honestly. The darkest moments in this book don't even come from the actions being taken. For me, it's more about the apathy of the bystanders, the people who are just watching and not standing up and not doing anything when they know that they should. In fact, they don't even know that they should. It doesn't even occur to them. That's how broken humanity is in this book, and it's repulsive. I don't know if it's just something about me that this affects, and let me know if you agree with me, but one of my biggest fears is that humanity isn't really any different to animals. If you take away the rules that we've set in place over the last couple of thousand years, and you take away all those rules and you just say, everyone just do whatever, would we maintain our humanity and our goodness? Or would we just resort to chaos? Would we just start biting faces? Are we really just animals that are wearing clothes? Because there is a moment in this book, and I tell you something, I was genuinely stunned. I read quite dark books, but my jaw dropped open. I'm not gonna spoil it, don't worry. But if you've read it, you're probably gonna know what I'm talking about. There is an innocent life that is taken very suddenly as a family is gathered, and one of the members of the family is kind of looking to everyone and imploring them and saying, "Listen, you have to help. This isn't right, what they're doing to us. You all know that this isn't right." And then all of a sudden, something really shocking happens, and everyone kind of stands there just nonplussed. And all they're thinking about as this innocent life is taken is, I wonder if we can take some of their stuff. And that's dark. That's dark. But I'll say this in the book's defense. It's because of how dark things get in this book that the characters of Swan, Josh Hutchins, and Sister kind of shine a little bit brighter by contrast. And you just root for them a little more than you otherwise would. But listen, that's not to say that the evil characters in this story don't have their, I'm not going to say redeeming qualities, but their impressive qualities. They're very resourceful. They're they have a lot of ingenuity. They're able to work things to their advantage and carve away, sometimes literally, a place for themselves. If you're into, survival of the fittest, or if you're into asking yourselves questions like, how would I do if everything fell apart? And you like those kind of ideas, I think you're probably going to be impressed maybe with some of the less savory characters in this book. I mean, you might not like them, but I think you'll be impressed with them. But, after reading Swan Song, I can see why so many people compare it with The Stand. And so, I've made another video where I directly compare and contrast the two books, Swan Song and The Stand. I'm going to be comparing the themes. I'm going to be comparing the plot. I'm going to be comparing the characters. Lots of fantastic characters in The Stand. Listen, this is one of the best books I've read in 2023. And this is probably my favorite Stephen King book of all time, maybe. And so, what's going to happen? If you'd like to find out, and if you'd like to know who's going to be crowned the king of the apocalypse, then you can click up here where the video is. Thanks so much for watching this video. Really appreciate it. For more book stuff, please subscribe. Happy reading. Have a good one.